Welcome to Anderson in Focus with CLA, where Anderson comes into clear view. We're Community Lens of Anderson, a grassroots crew digging into what's happening behind the headlines, from budgets and public safety to social justice, civic engagement, and the folks making change happen right here at home. Real talk, real people, real impact. Let's zoom in. All right, Angie, we're back. We're going to talk a little bit this week about a city council recap. Before we do that, we're going to just kind of set the stage of how our community is in action. We had an event that we both attended this Saturday that was really, it felt good. Community Lens was able to participate, and this was an event that was sponsored by the Minority Health Coalition and Anderson Impact Center on February 28th, and it was a health fair and Black History Month event that I was really thrilled to attend. So you were there as part of the planning and setup. So what was your take of the day?
I thought it was an incredible day. There were activities scheduled all throughout the day, whether it was music or food or just information. A lot of vendors were present. And so we also were able to see a number of performances by Anderson Elementary students. There was a Hispanic dancing group that was there. Mm-hmm. Just a lot of good community.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was just exactly what you would imagine a community to be. All ages, a variety of events. One of the most exciting ones that I didn't get to stay for was the fashion show that kind of wrapped up the day. And but I know that was well attended. I saw DJs coming in with equipment, and Teddy Patterson was playing the saxophone, and just a great day. We were able to have a table with Community Lens, and we were able to actually register 2 people, which was nice. That doesn't always happen, but we were able to give out a lot of information and talk a little bit about our upcoming voter guide that we're going to do, hopefully a whole podcast around, so you're aware of what that document looks like. But I'll just give you a little sneak peek. We've got a lot of great people working on that from United Way and Community Lens together. So a lot of good information. And then you had a heat table. Tell me what that is.
Right. For those of you who are not familiar, HEAT is it's a coalition that was formed. It is under the umbrella of SURE, Standing Up for Racial Equity, and ultimately under Minority Health Coalition. But HEAT is the Health Equity Advancement Team, and our focus has been on tobacco. So we have been working with other groups in Madison County who have also been working on tobacco, like the health department, Intersect, the hospitals. But one of our focus is really on bringing in people from the community to be a part of this coalition and to help people learn or develop their voice in advocacy. And we right now are focusing on doing some education in the schools, and also working a little bit with just some other pieces in the community about how we can help with the enforcement of our local ordinances regarding our tobacco, rules. Yeah, rules and retailers, and the kind of inventory there to keep, and how they are adhering to the newly covered or newly passed ordinances. So it's exciting stuff. And I was across the aisle from Angie at this event, and somebody I was sitting with said, "Boy, you'd think she was a teacher." And sure enough, I said, well, she was a preschool teacher at one time, but she had a great quiz going and a board. And, I think people of all ages love a good quiz. So she was absolutely engaging all day. So, well, we were happy to kind of kick off a little bit of the spring blues and attend that event. And so I wanted to mention that. And I would just like to add, please follow Minority Health Coalition on Facebook. They are always having events or different education programs on, diabetes or other health. They have a whole program for people 50 and up to learn about aging and how our bodies and minds change as we age. I mean, there's there's a lot of good programming coming out of Minority Health Coalition.
I do. I'm just kind of on the tip of the iceberg to hear some of these, but I know that Angie's pretty involved, so I always get my information from her, as always. A couple of events that are coming up that we wanted you to mark your calendar for. The first one is actually tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock. The Anderson Redevelopment Commission meets at the City Building in the Economic Development Chamber. They have a boardroom there. It's a small agenda, but they will be opening bids on certain projects, including perhaps lawn care, but also some bids for installing a water main out near the interstate, if I'm not mistaken. And we believe this to be in preparation for a gas station and full service diesel facility that will be going in there. I don't know a lot about it, but it would be an important one for you to attend if you have some questions.
Right.
So that's tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. March 8th at 2 o'clock at the Madison County Historical Society, which is there on Meridian. This will be the State of the City given by our Mayor Thomas Broderick Jr. And in that typically is just as you would expect, kind of going through the different departments, different things about budgets and maybe projects for the upcoming year. So this is a good time to really hear what's going on from the mayor's office.
Yeah, he usually provides a great list, a great recap of what has happened the previous year.
Mm-hmm. And then March 12th will be the next city council meeting. And those begin, are they still at 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
Okay. And those are in the City of Anderson's building, the chamber that's right there as you walk in, pretty central to the facility. So those are some upcoming dates. We'll try to mention those again at the end. But we're going to get right to our topic. We appreciate you listening to our recaps here. We're going to talk about February 12th, the City Council meeting, and some of its key agenda items. So as always, Angie, what were some takeaways, or at least what should we have known about this meeting?
Right. So the agenda didn't have a lot of, there was 3 items on the agenda, and they were all zoning items. But prior to that, under communications, Marilyn Collier with the Queens was listed under communications, but ended up not speaking. So I'm not sure what that was going to be about. And then Nicole Kapuscinski was on the agenda. And for some reason, they kind of skipped over the communication piece, but she did speak at the end under public comments. And it was really questions related to the water issue, not necessarily rates, but some of the contaminants, I think, that she has concerns about.
Okay.
So
I've seen her speak on that quite a bit, and she's very knowledgeable, well-researched, and part of a group that just continues to seek answers.
Right. Yeah. So we appreciate that. So the first ordinance was one that was up for its 3rd reading, and this was a zoning change over on Rangeline Road across from the solar plant or solar park. Michael Johnson, who owns Modern Tree Solutions, is rezoning that area so that he can both live there and have his business located there. And so that passed, unanimously through the council, as it did on all votes. So then the next zoning ordinance, request was for a change from I-3 to I-1, which again, I don't know all the ins and outs of the different zoning classes, but just in general, going to an I-1 zone class made it more flexible, we'll just put it that way, than the I-3 zone class.
Okay.
And this was located, or is located, it's the 5 to 700 block of East 38th Street, which is where the old the Dollar General that burned. It's, I believe, right next to that. That's where I'm picturing it. So 38th and Columbus-ish.
Okay, yeah.
Is that
that's right?
That's where I'm picturing it. The petitioner, his name is Alexander Shapiro. He, from the address that was written on the application, lives in Carmel. And Tim Steyer's a municipal development, presented the ordinance. So this is basically a 5-acre open field right there on 38th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for the request is right now, I guess it's very limited on what can be developed in that space due to being an I3 zone class. And the owner would like that to be opened up so that he could either put some sort of retail or restaurant there or sell the land so that somebody else could do the same.
Okay.
So he brought a rendering of a potential retail space that could go there, but there wasn't a slide, so the public couldn't see it. It was only the council members could see it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could ask, so if you live in that district, that would be District 3, I believe.
I think so.
Greg Graham?
Right.
Maybe there is an opportunity to ask for, at least what they saw as the rendering, or, what would prompt them to imagine and therefore vote on this ordinance change.
Right. The petitioner kept referring to what could be there as a restaurant or retail space. And so they used the phrase strip mall. And maybe, I don't know exactly what the picture was, but that's what it indicated. So changing from this zone class is not in conflict with the current comprehensive plan. And there was nobody that spoke out against it. There was somebody who I guess did call in or write in to ask questions about something, but nobody had anything negative or concerns about it.
Okay.
I shouldn't say nobody, because some people did, but they just weren't residents.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. And then I just wanted to also note that this went before the Plan Commission. It happened to be a meeting where only 5 people were in attendance. I think they said that was due to the weather that night.
Okay.
And the Plan Commission voted 4-1 to recommend this zone class change.
The vote was 4-1.
4-1.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for that to officially be considered a recommendation, you need not a unanimous, but you need 5 votes.
Oh.
And so if there's only 5 people there and it's harder to get to that 5 vote threshold.
Gotcha.
It's not just a majority of who's present.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and how many are on the Plan Commission? Do you know?
9.
Okay, 9. Okay. You may have said that. Yeah. Okay, so that was a small group that day then.
Right. Now, this is just a little bit of a side note, but there was a time when Councilor Bibbs was on the council and something similar happened. And he brought up that if the Plan Commission did not have that official approval or recommendation, that the council kind of had I'll just call it a house rule, that they wouldn't hear the ordinance.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't, to him and to the council at that time, it didn't make sense to hear something that wasn't recommended from the Plan Commission.
Mm-hmm. It didn't meet that threshold.
Right. But that did not happen. The council did hear the ordinance.
Interesting.
And so just as a little asterisk, maybe that's something that the council can consider when they are redoing their bylaws, which is something Councilor Graham mentioned a few meetings ago that they're going to do. That maybe that's something that they do actually put in writing.
Yeah, those house rules, as you reference, or yes.
Right. So anyway, that's just a side note, but I find things like that interesting. Mm-hmm. So again, the development is being proposed to be a retail or restaurant space, and the petitioner was there along with his attorney, and they presented their case. Councilwoman Culp, who does serve on the Plan Commission, raised a concern that she would not want to vote for this change without knowing what is actually going in there. Like, it's just too unknown.
Too nebulous, yeah.
Right. And so she did vote no on the Plan Commission as well.
Okay.
So, and there were others who also said that. Councilor Turner, Councilor Harless, they were just, that unknown was just a little bit too much for them to go out on faith that it would indeed be what they are saying. And I think the unknown was the owner was like, I might sell it, I might not, there was just too much gray area.
Yeah. So this makes me think of how this all starts. And usually, if I'm not mistaken, someone who wants to request an ordinance a zoning change, is their first stop at municipal development?
I believe so.
Okay, so they propose or they say, hey, I'm interested in this zoning change, and municipal development kind of guides them through that request process.
Right.
And knowing that they have to then go in front of the plan commission, and then there are these steps. So,
just to jump in,
please.
This land it butts up against Hilltop Heights.
Mm-hmm.
So the council was very concerned for that reason, that it is in a residential area, a pretty heavily populated residential area.
It is.
And so I think, were just being extra cautious about protecting those residents.
Yeah. And, the south side of Anderson, I happen to have grown up in that very area, and those intersections feel very congested, and those streets are fairly small for the level of traffic that flows through. So I think that's a smart move to really step back and think that through.
Right. Yeah, I was happy that they just said, no, we're not going to go there. The vote was 5-4, though, but councilors Culp, Harless, Dixon, Newman, and Graham all voted no to vote that down.
Okay.
So, there's only one hearing or one reading when it gets voted down. So that was the end of that.
Okay. And can that individual come back with maybe a more developed plan and re-propose, if you will, that change?
Yeah, he was encouraged to do just that, come back with something a little more solid.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. I've heard in the past there's a time frame, like you can't just come back next month. But I don't know. I shouldn't bring things up I don't fully know. So, yes,
we have new sound effects, so I'm giving them a try.
Things I wonder. So I need to ask somebody who would know the answer to that.
Okay, I put that in my notes.
Okay.
All right. So what else was on the agenda?
The final thing was another zoning request, and this one is out our way on the corner of Lindbergh and Range Line. Okay. There's that piece of land that's been for sale for a while. Mm-hmm. So there is a company who would like to develop, they call them apartments, but they look more like, I think, condos or duplexes. So because they're single level with garages. Mm-hmm. So they look more like a house. But there's going to be 200 units built there.
I saw that, and I could not imagine in that space that many.
Yes, it's going to be quite a project. They estimate about 7 years to get it all done.
Well, we need more housing, so that's for sure.
Right. The name of the company is Redwood Apartment Neighborhoods, and they have I don't want to say they're out of Indianapolis necessarily, because I don't know if the parent company is actually somewhere else, but they do have a number of neighborhoods or already established in and around the Indianapolis area. Mm-hmm. And this is 40 acres of land that sits there. And currently, the current comprehensive plan calls for low density housing there. And this is in conflict with that, because this would be high density housing. But just like you said, we need some housing. And so sometimes you have to just go with what is presented. Well,
did I read what is expected to be the average rent?
That wasn't shared at this meeting that I'm aware of. Do you?
So you know? I thought that I did think that the rent was going to be a little higher than what we would anticipate to be affordable housing. But and I don't know if there are any programs for which this housing would qualify for any kind of vouchering systems or support in that way. But I thought I heard between $1,200 and $1,500 a month. But again, that's kind of the going rate. And so maybe I'm just that out of touch. But let's get more information about that. I don't want to spread misinformation, but I was pretty surprised to hear that many units were going to be placed on that land. So we'll see. Right.
And it did pass the first two hearings with the council, or first two readings unanimously. And I expect it will be on the agenda in March for its final reading. And that would be a good time to ask some of those questions just to clarify price points and different items like that.
Yeah, and so that would that be, it's on the south east or southwest corner?
It's west.
So,
Southwest, yes.
Yeah, southwest. So that would be on the same side as the apartment complex that's on down, which is that Autumn Ridge or?
Yeah, I believe so.
So that really creates a high density, and I don't know enough about topography or land and in terms of drainage and things like that. It seems like there's going to be a lot required of that soil in that area.
Right, and you hit right on it, because drainage is what the most of the questions were about this ordinance. Mm-hmm. So Councilor Graham, he was quick to ask, please tell me this is not going to increase water flow north to that North Crest addition.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And so he was assured that there will be no increased water flow to North Crest addition. So, okay. But that was front of mind for him.
Good.
And then there were also kind of some concerns, because right across the street, if you go east on Range Line, that's county. Okay. So we got to have a thing and that's where the water is going to flow, is east towards the river. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of city-county work on this project.
Okay.
From my understanding, there was one person who had concerns, and the owner of Redwood, and he talked, and they've come to an agreement. So that was all the details that were given at the meeting.
Okay.
So
I would only assume it would be a surrounding property owner.
I'm imagining it is somebody to the east where the water is going to flow, mm-hmm. which they said they're going to get an easement for the stormwater mm-hmm. in order to be able to carry that water away. Okay. And then there'll be 3 retention ponds also to help with the water.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I know that's been an intersection I travel quite frequently, so a lot of construction over this 7-year period. That will be maybe there'll be a different route I'll take. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
That is true. I didn't think about that. I take that road often myself. So.
All right. Well, any final thoughts or summaries from that particular meeting?
At the end, there were some public comments.
Oh, good.
And most of them, some of them kind of had to do with the rate hikes, so that they were kind of suggested to come back to the public hearing and express that at that time. Mm-hmm. There was a lady who came from Alexandria who was concerned about the new well that Anderson has built out north and whether that's going to be taking water from the Alexandria's aquifer. And I mean, all Councilor Graham said was that water will be going to Anderson. But I don't know. We're not geologists, I guess.
Yeah.
to know that depth of information.
Good question. But I don't know that the average citizen would have known to ask, nor really where you'd seek your answer. But.
Right. So anyway, and I do think there was a good suggestion brought up by a gentleman named Greg Carr. Mm-hmm. And he is a geologist and has experience with municipalities. And he recommended that a citizen advisory board be developed mm-hmm. to help educate and calm the concerns of citizens over items like the rate increases, or just how is all this infrastructure work going to shake out, things like that. And Councilor Freeman was quick to say that he feels that we already have too many committees or advisory boards, and that it's really his job and the job of the councilors to be getting that information to their constituents. Mm. And he indicated that that is what he does. He walks his district to, educating his constituents about what's happening with the different projects or what's coming. So I found that interesting.
I love that Citizen is recommending some kind of an advisory board, or at least whether it be formalized or not. That reminds me, I recently spoke to another community member. Many people know him as either Domino or Dominic Wills. And he is the founder of Westside Concerned Citizens Coalition. And he's kind of a person on the street, if you will, that kind of captures different current events as they're happening. And one of the recent conversations I had with him was there was a time when he was really trying to promote people coming to meetings. And one of his methods, and he would do this, is right before an actual meeting, there might be an hour ahead where he would invite citizens to group up. Maybe it was at local community center or the library, and maybe even have a few snacks and just kind of review the agenda before the meeting and really kind of get everyone's minds around, okay, what are we going to hear tonight? What questions do we have? If we don't get the answers that we're looking for, how do we ask for more? All the things that we at Community Lens are also trying to support, is a more informed citizen, one who's more confident to come to these meetings and ask these questions and make these recommendations like Mr. Carr.
Right. I love that idea.
Yeah, I do too. So I'd spoken to him just briefly. I'd love to help support his idea and maybe bring that back.
Right. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yep. And then a final comment.
Yeah.
Mr. Mike Geringer also spoke, and he recommended some sort of a dashboard or just a way to track all three of our infrastructures, utilities are going to be under some sort of development over these next however many years. And so it would be great to be able to see the progress that's being made.
Absolutely. We'll get into some conversations about that again at, I think, another podcast, but we definitely would support a public dashboard, just big projects, being able to see the playbook be completed and follow along and see the timeline as the way it should be, and being able to kind of monitor that as citizens, that would be a great improvement.
I think so too.
All right. Well, as always, your recaps are always so thorough, and for a 3-item agenda, you captured quite a bit. What else do we need to mention to our listeners before we wrap up today? Anything else on your mind?
Just a reminder of those meetings that you had mentioned. So if people are able to attend. Yeah,
it sounds great. So March 3rd, tomorrow evening, the Anderson Redevelopment Commission at 5:00 at the City Building. March 8th is the State of the City at 2:00 at the Madison County Historical Building. And March 12th is the next City Council meeting at 6:00 at the Anderson City Building.
Right. And if you go to the State of the City, I just recommend that you get there a little early because it is limited seating.
Okay. Yes, I think roughly 50 or so. So we want to encourage that to expand over time. But for this year, we're going to try to fill those seats and make sure that as many people that can attend can. Also, I believe it will be recorded and uploaded to the City of Anderson's YouTube site. I don't think it has to be a live stream, but it often is uploaded for their YouTube channel. So we'll take a look at that and break it out for everyone once that happens.
Right.
So, all right. Well, until next time, take care. I'm Kelly Kelly.
I'm Angie Strickler.
And we're Community Lens of Anderson.